Hello, students. Welcome to the continuation of the lesson, the submit. The first, let's start. After stood on the top, the first feelings, they were relieved that there were no more steps to cut. There were no more ridges to travel, and no more hump to tantalize, and the hope of success. Finally, Edmund looked at tensing in spite of balaclava helmet. Though they wear helmet, goggles, and oxygen mask, they were all with a long icicles. They concealed their face, but there was no disguising his grin of delight as they looked all around him. They shook, they just shake hands, then tensing through his arm around my shoulders. Actually, they reached. After a long struggle, they reached on the top. That was a time to celebrate, tensing through. They just made a small hug and thumbs up, and they thumped each other on the back until they were almost breathless. It was 11:30 a.m. The ridge had taken them 2.5 hours, but it seemed like a lifetime. From 9 to 11:30, I hope you do remember the timing. Within the 2 hours, 2.5 hours, they almost gone to reach the deathbed, but finally they made it. Next, to the east, our giant neighbor, neighbor means the place, Makalu, unexplored and unclimbed, that place. They started from southeast way only, but what about the east, the Makalu hill, that was unexplored. No one is gone there, and it was unclimbed. No one is gone there, no one has climbed that. But far away across the clouds, the great bulk of Kanchenjunga is a place loomed on the horizon place. To the west side, we could see, they could see the great unexplored ranges of Nepal stretching off into the distance. Nepal people never allowed Britishers to climb over there. So they started from the south side to reach, so that he just describing the east and the west side of Nepal ranges. They were unexplored and unclimbed. No one is climbed there. But the most important photograph they felt was a shot down. They took the photo from the north ridge, showing that north pole, the old route which had been made famous by the struggles of those climbers. See, 1952 and 53 only they succeed the first ascendant, but 1920s to 1930s, great climbers have started from the north pole, but they rooted in the south side. After 10 minutes, Edmund realized that he was becoming rather clumsy fingered and slow moving. It was the full body was frozen, so he quickly replaced his oxygen set. Oxygen bottle is over. It's exhausted. It's empty. It's became empty, and they made it to another one. Meanwhile, what about tensing? Tensing had a little hole on the snow, and he placed in small articles of food, a bar of chocolate and packets of biscuit. They must have something to get energy, right? And handful of lawless chocolates. Small offerings indeed, but at least a token gift to the gods that all devout Buddhists believe have their home on this lofty summit. He just make it whole, and there is a kind of food. It was given by God. They imagine and they believed that some of the climbers, some of the achieved, the god Buddhists would have given something for their achievement. So they take that it was a small thing from the god, but they were together on the South Pole 2 days before. Colonel Hunt, another important person, his full name is John Hunt, 2 days before had given a small crucifix, which some kind of hard thing, which they asked him to take on the top. But Edmund Hillary made a hole into the snow and placed the crucifix beside tensing gift. What is a crucifix? You might have know what is a crucifix. crucifix, it is a representation of a cross with a figure of Christ. So Colonel Hunt gave crucifix to the Edmund Hillary to take to the top, and he too had made a small hole and placed the crucifix beside Tenzing gift. Tenzing had Tenzing already placed some food, lolly chocolate packets, and he also placed the crucifix. After 15 minutes, he moved down of the summit to our steps. Just they don't want to waste time. They again started cramping along the track, spurred by the urgency of diminishing oxygen. It is very tough to get the oxygen on the top, so they scrambled cautiously, very carefully over the rugged travels, moved one at a time over shaky and snow sections, of finally cramped up their step and back onto the south peak. Again, they don't want to waste time. Once they reached, and they automatically get their ways. They were very tired, but moved down to the two reverse cylinders on the ridge. Again, they want to come down. So as they were only short distance from the camp to take the rest, they just moved on to the another ridge, but there is a few more steps to get the camp. So they had a few liters of oxygen left in their own bottles. They carried extra cylinder down, and reached their tent on its crazy platform at 2 p.m. After 11:30, they reached, and they get another tent at 2 p.m. With last look at the camp, they have served so well, but they turned towards with a dragging feet and set themselves the task of safely descending to the ridge of South Col. Finally, safely moved to the climbed to the ridge of a South Col. The time passed as in a dream. Who are the two figure came towards them and met them a couple of 100 feet above at the camp. Two people came there to meet them. Who would be that? Let's see. That is, they were George Lowe and Wilfred Noyce and George Lowe. They laden with a hot soup. They took a hot soup. They are already in the camp. An emergency oxygen. Just short of the tent, the oxygen ran out. They had enough enough to do the job, but no means not too much. See, they have enough to do the job means they have to get the oxygen. That is what by no means too much. They crawled into the tent. Again, they gone into the tent with a sigh of delight and collapsed into their sleeping bags. They take their bags back, that was already collapsed, while the tent flapped and shook under the perpetual South Col gale. So finally, they reached at 11:30 on May 29. They have started May 28, but they reached on 29. Then the important person, who is John Hunt, who already gave the Jesus crucifix. Crucifix means it's a Jesus crossed symbolism. John Hunt, who led the expedition, this travel state that it was unforgettable day. They had climbed on the top. There were shouts of joy, handshake and hugs for two heroes. Who are the two heroes? Edmund Hillary and Norgay. Who is a Norgay? Tenzing and Edmund Hillary. These two people are they're overwhelming, and their happiness and pride showed how these men had shared in the achievement, and they also took the photograph on that. They were brilliantly concluded by Tenzing and Hillary. The adventure was over. So the story of ascent means climber. The story of ascent of the Everest is one of the comradeship and teamwork formed through the dangers and difficulties they met. They went through the dangers, formidable and difficulties, and overcome together. Perhaps after climbing this great mountain, others will find their own Everest. Their own Everest means they have to achieve their own field. So here, Hunt, the story of the ascent of Everest is one of a comradeship and teamwork. Formed, he just went to the Edmund, Hillary and Tenzing went through the dangers and difficult times, overcome together. Perhaps after the climbing of this great mountain, others will felt their own Everest. Their own Everest means they too have some time, they too have some achievements in their life. Everest means not literally Everest to everyone reach and get success, but they feel their life. No, even as a small shop the person is running, they have to success. That is what their Everest to reach. But some are close at hand and others are far away in a distant land. This is what the different in it, nothing but. So through this lesson, what we learn, what we can, some people are really do hard work. They almost do their work, do or die, like this, live or like this, whether we want to achieve. See, this is not a life was not better process for all the people, students. Some may have do very difficult, they're facing, they went through, they gone through the difficult time to reach, to get the peak in their life. So submit in our field, submit in our life, just to do whatever you wish, and the way you choose, whether it is a difficult or easy, you must reach in your field, your life, actually not field, your life. You should meet at the end, you should meet at the summit. This is what we learned today in this lesson. There is another important message is given. Not all the adventures are exciting, nor the adventure is to be found only upon a mountain. See, adventure, it is not only found only on the mountain. There are Everest, there are so many Everest to be climbed in our everyday life. Given, the selflessness and the resolve which enabled men to climb Everest. There is no height, no depth, no spirit of man, and guided by the spirit and cannot attain. Same, only those people are climbing the Mount Everest, they only not ascender. If we want to touch, we facing every day, in our life, our life is Everest. We just moved on one by one. We must face, so that we can measure ourselves how, like he put on his full body weight, he just pulled out the crack, ice cornices. So we might have also known about the strength, how the God is testifying us to make over, to come up the struggle, so that our life is Everest. We just move on to the top, and we must reach on to the top. This is what the moral, this is what the a kind of message that is given in this lesson by Edmund Hillary. Those successful people have symbolically said to us. We take this. So now it's time for the study material and the assignment note. So I'll give you full file, full study material. You write a glossary part, children. In your assignment note, you must have write a glossary part, short answer, and the paragraph answer. Okay, paragraph, short answer, write 3 parts, and vocabulary you must read. Vocabulary is idioms and phrases are there, and also phrasal verb, compound words, semantic work, all this vocabulary is there. You just read and write. You don't want to write all this vocabulary activities, you just write a glossary part, short answer, and paragraph answers. But vocabulary activities, I attach the file, the whole file. You read it and get ready for the exam. Thank you, children. Study well and write exam honestly, and keep preparing for that. Everybody must attend the Zoom class. Thank you, children.